Hey everybody. Thought I'd do a video update this time, just do things a little bit differently. And I just got back from my appointment with a medical oncologist, Dr. Monk at Ohio State. And almost everything was great news. The only thing that wasn't, and it was nothing to do with my scans or lab work, anything from last week. It was strictly my misinterpretation of just some basic information. My understanding was that it usually takes about 5 years. That's the normal amount of time for the tumors to become resistant to hormone therapy, which is what I'm currently on. And then the next thing you would go on after that would be chemo. There is a new therapy that's coming out, and that might be used before chemo or after. But either way, the thing that I was misinformed about was that that's for most patients, but for someone like me, because I already have metastatic disease and I have it so young, he said normally someone like me, it's going to be within about a year or two that it becomes resistant to hormone therapy. Again, there's other therapies, and he's got a patient. He said he just saw a patient last week who's been on hormone therapy for 20 years. So I may be one of those patients, but as far as what normally happens, the time frame is a lot shorter. And again, there's other things that go on afterwards, but the sooner we hold off on chemo, the better. This new medication that's probably going to be approved this summer, it's a new form of radiation. It's basically they inject you with a substance that only attaches to prostate cancer tumors, and that substance is also radioactive, so it kills those cells. A study just got released. That's the one where initially I thought it was going to be like, oh my God, this might be almost a cure and people are going to live decades longer. And they did it. They only lived several months longer compared to patients who were on chemotherapy. But it's another tool. So there are more things potentially to go on, and there's more research and more therapies that could potentially come out in the next couple of years. But as of right now, the time frame is a little bit shorter than what I thought it would be, most likely. But again, don't know. That was the only bad news, just my misinterpretation of what's normal. Everything else, though, is great news. My PSA level, prostate antigen, that measures the activity of the prostate, is continuing to decrease. The goal is to get it to 0 eventually, but it does not need to be there now. He said as long as it's decreasing, that's what we want. He said the only goal for PSA levels is for it to be below 4 at the 6-month mark, and mine's at, I think, 1.14. So I'm well below that. And a couple months ago was 1.6 something or whatever. But anyways, as long as it's decreasing, that's good. That's all you need. If it starts to increase, then we have some concerns. He said, but that's going in the right direction. So that's one thing. Second off are the lymph nodes. They have shrunk, like it said in the message from last week, but they have shrunk. And he showed me the scans from December compared to the ones from last week, and it's really noticeable. The one from December, there's several lymph nodes that are cancerous. But one in particular, he showed me, like in December, was about like that big on the scan. It was that big. I'm not sure how big it is in real life. But the scan from last week, you couldn't even see it with the naked eye. It's completely shrunk. So that's awesome news. That means that it's responding to therapy. So lymph nodes are going in the right direction. As far as the bone metastasis, even though on the scans they said it appeared that they had grown, they might not have, because what happens is the metastasis will damage the bone, and the bone will try to heal itself. So there will be a buildup of calcium, and that shows up on the scan. So it makes the tumor look like it's growing, on the bone, but in reality, it's not. It could be the same size, so they may actually be shrinking. And the only way to know for sure if it's growing or not is to do a biopsy every single time. But he said that's not necessary because everything else is pointing in the direction that they're actually shrinking because the lymph nodes have responded so well. You're not going to have lymph nodes respond that well and the bone mets are growing. It doesn't work like that. Bone metastasis do take longer to respond to hormone therapy than lymph node, than soft tissue, but it's not going to be the opposite. It's not going to be one goes down and one goes up. So the fact that PSA levels dropping, lymph nodes respond so well, he's almost assured that the bone mets are fine. Matter of fact, the only time that they will say the therapy is no longer working because of bone mets is if there's a new bone met. Because if it appears that it's growing, again, they don't know for sure. So they don't say, oh, okay, we have to stop therapy and switch you to something else. It's only if a new met shows up. And I have no new mets. So everything's good on that front. The metastasis on my spine may not be a metastasis. He said that's indeterminate. Indeterminate, I'm sure that's a word, but that's undecided. He said, and it doesn't need to be decided one way or the other because it would not change our therapy. Even though that one looked like it's grown, that might be a buildup of calcium. Most likely it is. If it is a bone met, it might be something totally different. The reason why it's undecided is because the first scan, the first radiologist who looked at it back in December said most likely it was not cancerous. There were 2 scans done last week. One of them, they thought, they didn't know if it was cancerous. One was. So because there's not uniform agreement on it, he said, we're going to treat it as it's a maybe, but again, it doesn't change anything, even if it was. So everything is going in the right direction. Awesome news. And the next steps, we are going to be a little bit more aggressive with what we're doing with the primary tumors within the pelvis. He thinks that, again, because of my age, that it most likely would be beneficial to go ahead and remove the primary tumor and all the tumors that are within the pelvis. The studies in the past, though, there's no studies that show that you live longer if you do that through surgery. However, there's studies that lean towards that maybe you'll live longer if you radiate everything. But the problem with if you do radiation is radiation can increase, well, not can, but it will increase issues with peeing, with urinary issues. And because I already have urinary issues, they don't want to radiate the whole area. So these are the options. We're either going to do a prostatectomy where we remove the prostate surgically and remove all of the tumors that are within, all the tumors that are within the pelvis, everything within the pelvic area through surgery. Or we're just going to do what's called a TURP, T-U-R-P. That procedure will remove the part of the prostate, the inside part of it, and that will help out with my urinary issues. But it has no effect on tumors. It won't do anything with tumors. We could do the TURP and then do radiation and radiate everything within there. So either way, the next step is either going to be a TURP, then followed by radiation, or we're going to do the prostatectomy and remove all the tumors through surgery. So the TURP or the surgery are done by the same person to be my urologist, Dr. Box. He's the urology surgeon at Ohio State. I have an appointment with him on the 28th. It's not urgent to have it done right now because everything is going in the right direction. PSA levels are dropping. But we'll decide then what's going to be the best step. And I'll talk again with the radiologist. The radiologist was telling me, let's not do radiation because it'll make the urinary issues worse. But we didn't talk about, well, what if we do TURP first? So anyways, next step is to meet with Dr. Box on the 28th, and then we'll decide which way we're going to go. I asked the medical oncologist, Dr. Monk, what percentage of his patients with metastatic disease are in their early 50s, and he said about 5%. And his nurse practitioner agreed. So that, it's a good thing, bad thing, but that, and combined with the misunderstanding about how long it takes for things to become resistant, that's the part I'm still a little processing a little bit. So I was asking him, you can't make any predictions. There's no guarantees of anything, but I'm wondering, should I switch to part-time work and then just enjoy my life, that kind of a thing? And he said, we're not at that point. Again, I may be someone who responds to therapy for decades just on a hormone therapy, or if not the hormone therapy, maybe the next thing I'm on responds so great. So we don't need to go there yet. But time frame wise, what's most likely to occur is that's something a little bit to process, but I'm doing okay. That's the main things. I'm still having issues with peeing and everything. I do have the 24/7 catheter, but I figured out how to hide it underneath my shorts. Basically, can't even see it, so I can go out into public. When I went to his office, he didn't even know I had it till I told him. So that's awesome. I can even golf with it. But I do want to get it out, sooner rather than later. But that's made quality of life a whole lot better. I went back on my Vyvanse. I was having issues with the diarrhea, so I went off the Vyvanse. Diarrhea got better, but then energy level and mood dropped so bad, and with everything else that's going on, I went back on Vyvanse, and I'm glad I'm back on it. They're going to have me see the endocrinologist. We're going to do a colonoscopy, do some more things to try to get the diarrhea better under controlled. I had issues with that before, even going on to all this cancer stuff. I've had that issue for years, issues with that. So we're going to try and get that cleared up. I think that's it. That's the main stuff. I'm off work this week, and I'm just relieved that the things I thought might be bad aren't, and things are in the right direction. So fingers crossed. Love all you guys, and I'm definitely in better mood and ready to start talking to people again. Appreciate you respecting my wishes for some space, and but I'm back, maybe, sort of. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.